Mr. President, the fact we're here on a Sunday indicates to me something is different about what we are about, and to me speaks to a sense of urgency we ought to have to complete our work before the Christmas holiday. There are few things more pressing than our agenda today. Government funding, as we know, is scheduled to expire at midnight tonight, and unless we take action in the next few hours, our country will be thrown into another government shutdown. I hope every member of this body can understand why this is simply not an option. I've heard some people talk about it's not a real shutdown if it just happens for a few hours or a couple of days over the weekend, but I think the appearance is horrible, and it speaks to us not living up to our responsibility to do this on a timely basis without any lapse in government funding. This is not the time to furlough hardworking public servants or send our various governmental departments and agencies into chaos. We need to pass a funding bill that will provide stability for the remainder of the fiscal year through the end of September next year, and give our government the ability to operate with certainty. All you have to do is talk to the leaders at the Pentagon, and they will tell you how chaotic and inefficient it is when Congress passes short-term continuing resolutions, which speaks to the importance of providing some certainty and predictability to the funding stream. But we know government funding is only one of the things left to do on our list. Our country is racing to distribute 2 now successful vaccines to bring an end to this pandemic that we've been living through that's claimed the lives of more than 315,000 Americans. Millions of workers have lost their jobs. They have no income. They've lost those jobs either in the weeks or several months ago and have been struggling to support themselves and their families. Sometimes I wonder, as we delay in responding and providing additional relief, whether those who receive paychecks have sufficient empathy for those who are receiving no paychecks. So time is of the essence. Small businesses are crunching the numbers, trying to determine how much longer they can hang on and keep their employees on the payroll, if they have been able to at all. And of course, teachers are doing the best they can to teach our children virtually or in a hybrid situation, some children going back in the classroom. But this has been a tragic circumstance, I believe, for many, particularly low-income children, for whom virtual learning is simply not an option or simply is failing them, because many of them have no access to broadband. They may not have sufficient supervision at home to help them through their studies. And it simply is, to me, incredible that we expect to put a child in elementary school in front of a computer screen for 8 hours a day and expect them to get what they need in terms of their education. But of course, none of this is news. We've known about not only the need, but the urgency of each of these priorities for months now. Unfortunately, the partisan dysfunction leading up to the election prevented us from making more progress since the CARES Act was passed last March. But with the election in November, we saw finally some interest on the part of congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle and both sides of the Capitol interested in negotiating a compromise. And there are many of our colleagues, some of whom are sitting here in the chamber today, who've dedicated a lot of time and effort to try to help the leadership build consensus and get to yes, which I hope we will get to very soon. So we know there's been a lot of negotiations, a lot of loose ends, but vaccines, workers, small businesses, and schools should be our priority. According to the Democratic leader and the majority leader, we apparently are just hours away from finalizing a bipartisan deal. But we know that the House none of us have actually seen text yet of what this looks like. The only responsible thing is for us to be able to study it and understand exactly what is happening. Then the House Rules Committee presumably will meet and pass a rule, and then it will go to the House floor. I don't know. I'm frankly.
Order in the Senate, please.
I know some people are saying we can get this done today. To me, that seems unlikely, but I guess we can all hope. I hope we do this responsibly and not just quickly. But we do know the American people are suffering, and this is not time for politics or delay for delay's sake. This is a time to come together, to compromise, and to make good on the commitment we've made to support the American people. I hope the signs that we're seeing, sort of expecting smoke signals from some quarters, but the signs that we're all trying to read, the tea leaves, and the like, I hope all this becomes a lot clearer today, and we can chart a clear path forward to both government funding and coronavirus relief. While the size and shape of this legislation is still coming together, I hope it will include legislation I introduced earlier this year to help some of our hardest hit small businesses. Over the last few months, we've heard much about the incredible success of the Paycheck Protection Program, which deserves all the accolades that it has received because it's provided a vital lifeline to America's small businesses and their employees. These loans helped employers make payroll and cover business expenses during the most difficult parts of the pandemic. And by any measure, the program has been an incredible success. But not all small businesses have been eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, and some of the most heavily impacted are our small independent venues. These businesses were the first to close when COVID-19 hit, and they're likely to be the last to open when it's behind us. Live cultural, musical, theatrical events are not only our critical cultural institutions, but they're huge drivers of local economies. A single event can provide paycheck not only to the artists and performers, but to lighting and sound technicians, bartenders, ticket takers, concessions and merchandise salesmen, as well as security guard, cleaning staff, and the list goes on and on. Unlike restaurants, which have been able to offer at least carry-out or outdoor dining, or retailers who switch to curbside pickup, there is no virtual substitution for these live events. That's why, working with the senator from Minnesota, Senator Klobuchar, I introduced the Save Our Stages Act so that these venues can be kept afloat so that when we are able to put the virus behind us, our favorite small independent venues will be able to open their doors once again. This is a stressful and scary moment for the Texans who work at and frequent our favorite venues, and the Save Our Stages Act can provide some hope for these cultural institutions. I'm proud to say that 58 of our colleagues have co-sponsored Save Our Stages, making it one of the most widely supported proposals, bipartisan proposals before the Senate. These final hours of negotiations are not the time to try to change the basic contours of that proposal to benefit well-endowed institutions or institutions that don't frankly need the money, and while these other venues are dying unless they get the money. Save Our Stages will benefit beloved small independent music venues and other theaters and the like across the country and ensure those marquees will shine bright once again. So, Mr. President, as we all know, time is running out and Congress needs to take action and take action soon. We cannot add the stress of another government shutdown to a raging pandemic. It's time for us to come together and get this done for the American people. I yield the floor.